Mm.
Great. Again, this is our 16th annual Food Justice Summit. We're excited this year. We actually changed the name. For first 15 years, it had been known as the Food Policy Summit. But upon reflection and recognizing the changing world and also trying to be more explicit about what we're trying to achieve through this event, relabeled it the Food Justice Summit. And this was also through input from the leaders who helped plan this event, which we'll be introducing and thanking shortly. So the Chicago Food Policy Action Council, or CFPAC, CFPAC, our mission is to co-develop, facilitate, advocate for, and support the implementations of policies that advance food justice and food sovereignty across Chicago region and beyond. We believe the way to do that is by creating partnerships and relationships and trust in communities and different sectors across Chicago and the area. And that the summit is a real linchpin and one of our key vehicles for achieving that. Really seeing how we're moving forward as moving not just from the concept of policy for policy's sake, but how is that policy and changes within bigger structures actually leading to justice on the ground. So throughout the summit, we've had 3 different tracks of sessions. One, reimagining. How are we thinking about food system change? Again, a policy track, but thinking about how policies are created and written that can actually lead to and spur equitable change. And then how are these ideas put into practice? So on the ground, how are these things actually making changes for folks in their different communities? We were very fortunate to have this diverse, energetic, excited, creative, passionate group of leaders this year who have been providing support for several months in the planning across a few different areas. Candace Clark was our virtual event planner. In the programs and logistics leads, we had Orrin Williams and Yasmin Martinez. For strategies for the accessibility, Trix Kirkpatrick and Tafadzwa Guitira. For our flavor and reimagination team, we had Wendy Zeldin and Michelle Lee. And for communications and engagement, we had Nora Byrne and Ashia Alberg. We were also thankful for the engagement from Rosie Fitz and Yesenia Mota, who contributed a lot of time and energy as well. Thank you guys so much. This would have been nowhere near as successful in so many different ways without all of your hard work and energy and passion. So thank you for all the prep work and seeing it through almost every session. There's been partners along the way. I also want to thank all of the volunteers and session speakers. Over 70 plus folks have given their time and energy to speak and share their knowledge and wisdom and experiences. Also many volunteers who have helped all of those different previous groups with selecting sessions, with the communication and outreach, with the partnerships to spread the word, to do a lot of the behind the scenes coordination. It's been spectacular, and thank you all so much for all of your help. Also want to thank our sponsors this year. We had the Greater Chicago Food Depository, Gourmet Gorilla, the Midwest Independent Retailers Association, Midwest Foods, and Star Farms. Thank you so much for the support. A lot of the resources have gone to help support the accessibility features we've been able to have, the translators, Spanish translators, and the ESL support. Also want to thank our grant and other financial supporters for the organization for the work throughout the year, the Foodland and Opportunity Fund, the Margot and Thomas Pritzker Family Foundation, Chicago Regional Food System Fund, Illinois Special Crops Grant Program, the USDA Local Foods Promotion Program, Walder Foundation, and ZS Cares. And how we do this work as CFPAC, again, is bringing people together, mobilizing networks, catalyzing policy, bringing folks together to learn from each other and share their knowledge and experiences to build community, to create transparency for navigating systems, for allowing people to understand the complex avenues and working with institutions and different partners. It can be really opaque how to actually find the information you need when you need it, and also uplifting successes and helping folks gain access to the resources that they need. I want to thank our incredible staff and board partners with Sia Mohammed Castaneda, Miraj Sheikh, Marley Wilsons, Steph Funk, Dakari Howard, and Ashia Alberg, and then Grow Greater Inglewood, Urban Growers Collective, the Little Village Environmental Justice Organization, the Heal Food Alliance, and Chicago State, who are all leaders who serve and have given so much of their time and energy to the board over the years. Again, thank you all for participating, and excited to move to this panel. Wanted to start with introducing Cosmos with the Bronzeville and Kenwood mutual aid groups. Thank you for bringing this panel together of all of these on-the-ground partners who have been doing such wonderful mutual aid and community feeding efforts over the last year. So I'll hand it over to you for the final session here.
Thank you very much. Greetings, everyone. My name is Cosmos. I use he, him pronouns. As Roger said, I work with the Bronzeville Kenwood Mutual Aid Group. I also work a bit with Chicago Mutual Aid Gardens and also with the Chicago Land Food Sovereignty Coalition, which is a collection of autonomous mutual aid groups throughout the city and Cook, trying to work together for food sovereignty, food justice, food autonomy. It's an honor to be here with so many beautiful people and some friends and comrades in the work and play that we do to make our communities better. I think this panel is intended to be somewhat of an open discussion, so I will do my best to facilitate. If you have questions, you can use, I believe, the Q&A function or just place them in the chat, and we'll try to field those as we go through this conversation. We have Chef Fresh here today. We have Risa Haynes from the Love Fridge, and we have Taryn from Farm Food Familias. Did I say that right? We welcome all of you. So I'm going to pass it over to Chef Fresh for introductions, and then maybe you can pass it to Taryn or Risa, and then we can get on with the conversation if that's okay. I'll pass it over to Chef Fresh. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Fresh, or Chef Fresh. I use they, them, and she, her pronouns. And my project is called Fresher Together. And I also do work with Chicago Bread Club and Artisan Grain Collaborative. And so I'm honored to be here. A lot of the work I think I've been doing for a long time, and especially in the last year, is rooted in mutual aid. And a lot of the work I do, I like to frame as being around accessibility and pleasure, and especially doing work around shifting and creating a powerful choice in the food system. And so I'm lucky enough to work with both of the other folks who are here. I'm one of the members of Farm Food Familia, which I know Taryn is going to talk a lot about too. So I'm honored to be one of those chefs. And I also host a Love Fridge and get to put lots of yummy bread and lots of yummy veggies and things like that into the Love Fridge that I host, and participate in another mutual aid project called Neighbor Loaves, which is I bake loaves that go into Love Fridges as well. So I'm not sure how much introduction I'll do. I'll leave it at that and then pass it along to Taryn.
Cool. Thanks for having me here and Farm Food Familias at the table. I am representing Getting Grown Collective, which is a family block-oriented organization that's really focused on just trying to support anybody in the neighborhood. We're based in Inglewood that wants to start growing food. But we're family. Farm Food Familias definitely took us to another level of working last year. And so I'm also here representing Elvejo, the Little Village Environmental Justice Organization, and Farm Food Familias, the greater massive like group of just amazing organizations and people that are making that project happen. And for those who don't know, Farm Food Familias is a mutual aid program that's distributing, at this point, 350 meals a week. We started at 50 meals in May in response to the pandemic, but we like to focus on really utilizing the local produce that is available, especially with nonprofit spaces that lost and are losing their face-to-face engagement and getting that food directly to people. And so we utilize 4 chefs to get that food out and a bunch of other people to make everything else happen. Thank you for having us. And Teresa.
Hi, excuse me. My name is Risa Haynes. I'm representing Love Fridge Chicago. I'm one of the food distribution organizers for the Love Fridge. So I try to organize like where the food's coming from and how it gets out to the 24 fridges that we have in 18 neighborhoods now across Chicago. We have about 3 more coming up in the next few weeks. Maybe by the end of the month, we'll be around 27 fridges. So it's very exciting. I'm thrilled to sit on this panel because all 3 of these other people, Chef Fresh, Taryn from Getting Grown, and Cosmos from BKMA, are all hosts of Love Fridges as well. So it feels like very perfect, like kismet, like I'm here with friends hanging out. So thank you for having us, everybody. And I'm ready to get this conversation going.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the introductions. If it's okay, I was going to start with a question about mutual aid itself. I know it's a popular phrase these days, and I think depending on who you talk to, you'll probably get a slightly different definition or just the way people practice it in general, which I think is apropos because it is something that's flexible and malleable, I believe. And you should be able to tailor it to your own community. So with that, if it's okay, if we can go another round and maybe talk a little bit about what mutual aid means to you, and I'll pass it back to Chef Fresh, if that's okay.
All right. I think of mutual aid in a few different ways. One of the ways that I think of it is thinking about what it is not. And so for me, when I initially think about mutual aid and the work that I do, I think that it is not the charity mindset that we're used to, right? Where someone is giving us something that they think we need from their abundance, right? And so when I think of mutual aid, I think of it in this sense of kind of we're who we've been waiting for, kind of. So we're taking care of each other and we're all benefiting. And so I think about that in like different projects that I do, whether it's from Farm Food Familias, whether it's with, through Love Fridge. We do work around community grain shares with Chicago Bread Club, and as well as like this neighbor loaves program, right? Where we are both, buying from the farmers, people are spending money to support the person who's baking. And then those loaves get to go out in community and folks get to eat those, right? And so it's this systems approach to doing things where we are kind of nurturing and taking care of ourselves and getting to say what we need, right? And so even in the work, and Taryn probably will speak about it too, in Farm Food Familias, right? We're constantly in this back and forth engagement with folks who are receiving the meals and people getting to dictate like, yes, we love the salmon. This quinoa was good. Can we have more of this? I don't want any more of that, and where people get to say what it is that they want, what they like, what restrictions they have, and what it is that they need. And then there's a response to that. And so it's like this different narrative than like when I think about other aspects where people kind of lose a little bit of their ability to choose, right? And so I think about that a lot when I think about mutual aid.
This is Cosmos again. Thank you very much, Chef Fresh. Do we want to just continue the circle again? Taryn, would you like to speak about mutual aid?
Yeah, that sounds good. Just, I mean, pretty much what you all have both said, in all honesty, is where I'm at. Is really just a call for everybody to show up, where you can, however you can, at whatever capacity is in flow with your care. I like to think of like mutual aid as just mutual care, because that's what it feels like. For me, I feel like a program like Farm Food Familias is something that all of the people that are involved have been thinking about doing and probably wanting to do for a long time, but it was this moment of urgency that made it emergently come about. And it's rooted in like fully in the community saying like, yo, this is what we need. We need food right now. People are sick at home and don't feel like making food for themselves. So that's what would be a help to us. And so we just responded to that and continue to, and it feels, looking at all of the mutual care, mutual aid projects that are happening all over, like that's what it is people like, okay, what is it that you are good at, what's your skill, and how can you give it to your people. And I mean, that's what we inherently are here to do. So it's really beautiful that this time has sparked that, I guess sparked that leveling up for all of us. But yeah, that's my answer.
Thanks, Taryn. This is Cosmos again. I'm going to pass it
I've
to
got to
Risa.
agree. Thank you, Cosmos. I definitely have to agree with what Chef Fresh and Taryn have said already. Certainly it's solidarity, not charity, right? We repeat that phrase over and over again because it actually means something. It's like we're here together. We're not sprinkling the little bits of what we have on people and saying you should be happy for this because this is what you get. We're trying to, for me, mutual aid through the project with the Love Fridge and with all of these beautiful people on this panel has really been about community building and creating relationships with people, strengthening those bonds and being a good listener. When somebody says something like, this is what I need, I like file that away and think about that. And then when I run into somebody who has what that person needs, I'm like, I've got it. I've got this connection. Hold on, let me make this connection. And then I get out of the way. To me, that's a big part of mutual aid. And that's a practice that I've always done. That's just kind of my personality. So I didn't know what mutual aid was until I got involved in this, but it turns out that it's kind of a perfect fit for that type of, connecting people to resources. And that's another thing that I think is really important is like identifying resources and identifying who needs what and making sure to not feel like you need to covet that. I never feel like we need to covet that. It's always like pass it on to the next person. There'll be plenty. It's coming. It just keeps coming. And I see that all the time. I will say like Love Fridge is a little bit different than a lot of the other mutual aid groups because we're all city. So we're not hyper local. Bronzeville Kenwood Mutual Aid is hyper local. You guys serve your neighborhood very specifically. We go everywhere. So it's really the relationship and community building part of what we're doing is one of the most critical parts because we need to know people in all of these neighborhoods, even though we don't personally live there. So we need to spend the time like cleaning up the block and hanging with the people and having conversations, and the refrigerators give us a great opportunity to do that. I have wonderful conversations with people at every one of these refrigerators every time I go out, which is several days a week. And then also being able, like Taryn was saying and Chef Fresh, to respond to different needs. Not every refrigerator has the same type of people culturally, or like people are in some areas it's more unhoused people that are utilizing the refrigerators. They need more grab and go food, pre-prepared food, sandwiches, things that don't require a lot of preparation or special tools to get into, versus neighborhoods like in Inglewood, people love the cooked foods. Like you were saying, Taryn, it's people don't feel like they have the energy and time after working so hard all the time just to like keep up to cook a meal. So it's great to have a meal to grab out of the fridge too. So really identifying those things and trying to direct those resources to the right places, not at the exclusivity of other refrigerators not getting that, but just being conscious of that when we make decisions about where food goes, what food goes where. So to me, it's mutual aid is about being a good listener. being able to really listen to people and absorb that information, not just, yeah, okay, cool, move on to the next, but like reciprocating that back when the information comes to you that you have to share back, yeah, that's a big part of it for us.
Thank you, Risa. This is Cosmos again for the interpreters. Thanks for all of those great insights from all three of you. I think that speaks very why there's a robust view here in just the three panelists talking about mutual aid. And I think you all touched on how important it is to be engaged with our community members. If I may, I wanted to ask you, and maybe for those watching and listening, if we could discuss maybe a day in the life of your kind of work or a week in the life, kind of walk us through the process of maybe how you work with others or your initiative itself, and maybe how you volunteers and community members are involved in that. So I don't know if a day is enough time if you want to talk about a week or a month, but maybe give us some insight into how you work with others and how your initiative fosters because of that, is fostered by that. Chef Fresh, can we start with you? Is it okay if we just keep going in the same circle?
All right. Yeah, that's fine. So I'll talk about a spread of time frame, just mostly because I'm doing a few different projects, and I'll leave a lot of the Farm Food Familias to Taryn to talk about how that looks logistically. For me, on the Farm Food Familias piece, like there's a lot of work that is done on the other end, and on Wednesdays is a day where I get to come in the kitchen with the donations that we got on Tuesday and do magic with volunteers in the kitchen, cooking up what we're cooking up and packaging it. And then I'll let Taryn talk about the rest of that experience. And of course, there's my dog. Sorry. Sorry about that. And so that's one piece, right? Like that was what some of my favorite things to do is every Wednesday I'm in the kitchen doing that. Outside of that, the two other mutual aid projects that I mentioned that I do, one is Neighbor Loaves, and that one is, I'm sorry, hold on one second.
No worries. We have a puppy here too, but she's quiet right now, but you may hear her as well.
Yeah, it was just the timing. We got a delivery. And so now she guard dog.
We'll let you know.
But Neighbor Loaves is another project I do. And what that looks like this morning, for example, what Neighbor Loaves is also a mutual aid project. And we, it started during the pandemic to support both the bakers and the millers, as well as those farmers. And then any kind of feeding efforts, right? And so what it is a baker will bake a loaf of bread or tortillas or anything in that realm of baking with at least 50% of local grain that we buy from farmers that are in the region. And then we connect those loaves or those buns, or today I made these fluffy yeast rolls with our choice of a community feeding organization or group or someone who could benefit for the bread. So this morning I baked a bunch of these yeasty rolls. And so that was just something that was easy to do on my own. And then I'll package them up. And then who I benefit is Love Fridge. So I'll put them in Love Fridge. If I just have an abundance, then I can also put them into like the Brave Space Alliance Crisis Pantry or some organization like that. And what is beautiful about that is community members just come onto my website and they can buy loaves of bread for their neighbors, or buns for their neighbors, or cornbread for their neighbors, or whatever it is, right? And then bakers get to still have that income and be able to pay their staff or whatever it is to have that. And so what it'll look like is, maybe depending on how many orders I get, maybe during the week I'll bake off a bunch of bread. And then there's one last piece of a mutual aid project that I do that is like a really important one to me. It's a community grain shares. And that's one I do through Chicago Bread Club. And for me, what that looks like is we get local grain from farmers that we purchase from farmers. So that is like a lot of culturally significant grain, right? So like black beans, red beans, grits, oatmeal, all of these types of things, cornmeal. And then we get those in bulk so farmers don't have that burden to have to package them in smaller packages. Then we repackage that and make sure it gets out in the community. Especially, I live in South Shore on the south side of the city. And so that especially looks like to me, making sure the South Side has access to local grain in a way that we don't in our neighborhood day to day, right? And so they'll, like, depending on the day, it'll be sorting through beans or, you know, packing up things of oatmeal or grits or any of those types of things from local farmers. And then we work with community partners like Love Fridge, like the Fresh Moves mobile market that UGC runs, to make sure that that then gets out into community through ways that are free or in ways that people are paying a reduced cost for this local organic grain. And so my week depends on the week and what the needs are. Every Wednesday I'm in the kitchen cooking meals off, and then depending on what the need is from week to week, doing some other mutual aid projects with that, with volunteers and support.
Thank you, Chef Fresh. Taryn, would you like to answer that question?
Yes. So I'll just kind of break down, I guess, the week. So Mondays is, especially during the season, is when we harvest and receive donations from other growing spaces. Last year we mostly got donations from like off the farm gardeners, Sweetwater Foundation, Closed Loop Farms, Fresher Together, Cedillo's Produce. Right, so Monday is the day that we receive all of the bounty. Tuesday morning, we meet up at Urban Canopy spot with drivers. We split up all of the containers and all of the produce. The chefs let us know Tuesday morning. The chefs let us know Tuesday morning what they want. We split it up. The drivers get it to the chefs. Tuesday afternoon, we all meet via Zoom. And then Wednesdays is getting everything together for the distributions. So one thing that's really special about Farm Food Familias in our heart is that we are delivering directly to people's households. That it definitely inflates the cost of the program, but it's important to us to make it so that we're getting to the people who potentially are not able to move around. We serve a lot of elders, so we make it. We want to get to them, but we also want the volunteers and the drivers to get there efficiently. So we actually give routes that have directions. So that takes a little bit of time, especially if people fall in or fall out. Oh, I forgot to say Tuesday night that our interns, they all of the recipients to see who was able to receive meals and who isn't. Wednesday afternoon, we get to either the breathing room. Right now, we're actually using the West Inglewood United Methodist Church as a distribution space. So we get to the distribution spot. All of the meals come to us. We split them up so that each household gets a blend of all of the 4 chefs' meals. The drivers arrive at 5, and then the food goes out to Little Village, and then spread out on the south side. And then Thursdays, we prepare for grocery distributions, which happen on Fridays. Same type of scenario happens that happens for Tuesday and Wednesday. And I think that's the gist of the week.
Thank you, Taryn. I appreciate it. Risa, would you like to share some of what Love Fridge is doing every week?
Yeah, I'm just going to pick like a day or two because we distro every day. We have a sign up on our website for reoccurring distributions. So people can just very autonomously go sign up for whatever fits their schedule if it's open. And then they can, those are typically pickups from restaurants, or we get some stuff from UGC left over from the Fresh Moves mobile market. So we get those a few days a week. And people contact us pretty much every week now asking if they can be added to that because people are making food that they just wanted to give to the fridges, but they can't get it there. So We add reoccurring donations constantly to our sign up. So if you're interested in volunteering, please jump in and help. I think all of us here understand the real value in people power every week. So I'm going to give you a rundown of like a Wednesday. Wednesday is my biggest distribution day and most coordination going on in one day. So typically I start out in the morning at Imperfect Produce out in North Lake, picking up whatever they're going to give us. They give us somewhere between 300 and 500 pounds of produce and grocery a week. I meet my other food distro partner, Amanda, out there. She has the big truck, so she has the big truck energy. And we load up our vehicles and split up the stuff. This is where we're equitable, right? We look at what we have and we say like, oh, all of the grab and go, easy to eat stuff should go with Amanda because she's going to put it in the fridges on the Northwest side where those are much more accessed by unhoused people. So I generally don't take any of that kind of stuff, but I'm going to take things for Little Village and Pilsen and the South Side. So I'm going to take a lot more culturally appropriate foods for those areas. Not to say the Northwest side doesn't want tortillas, but if we only have one case, I get the tortillas. And then I head off from there over typically to the hatchery. And I grab 50 to 100 hot meals that were just made that morning for us. It's been a really beautiful partnership that we have no effort at all. We just have to show up and pick up these hot meals. And it's wonderful. And then from there, I go over to Pilsen Food Pantry. And this is where I meet about 3 other people. The volunteers that I meet up with have been working with us for months now. So we're all really dialed in and it makes that whole process easier. If I'm running late or if either any of them are running late, we all know how the whole process goes. So somebody else can get it started, which is another part of mutual aid. I think that's important to highlight is skill sharing and like letting go of the controlling part of things, which is really hard for me because I'm a control freak, but getting other people onboarded onto that so that they can step in and do that job if you're not available is really important to keep it going. You can't just be all on one person. So at Pilsen Food Pantry, we split up the food. I basically open up my trunk and I say like, okay, the 3 of you take whatever you want, and they take everything. And that's because we're going to do 2 rounds of distro on Wednesday. And in the first round, they're going to load up anything that may get extra from Pilsen Food Pantry if they have excess cans or peanut butter, bread, any of that kind of basic stuff, meat, whatever it is, they'll give it to us. And then they'll load all their cars with that. I load my car with anywhere between 3 and 5. It's usually been 5 lately, home deliveries. And this is specifically for Pilsen Food Pantry. This isn't for the Love Fridge. This is the part where I felt like we need to be giving to them for all that they give to us. And I asked them what they needed and they said they needed drivers. And I said, okay, let's do like this. So I put 5 home deliveries worth of food into my car that they prepare. And I have my route. I've been delivering to these people about 4 or 5 months now. So we've never met each other. None of us have ever met each other, but they know my phone call. So I go around and I drop off food on their porches all over the south and west side of Chicago, and then give them a ring and tell them their food's outside. So, and then I head back to Pilsen Food Pantry. But if I have time on my way back, I make a little stop in back of the yards at Sukasa, where the breathing room is. And I grab their leftover Mies meals. If they don't want anything they don't want, they give to me. So by then I usually have room in my car for more food. So I grab those and then I head back to Pilsen Food Pantry. And at Pilsen Food Pantry, by now they've received their delivery for the week from the Chicago Food Depository. And then they know what they have excess of. So we're able to do a full second round with myself and usually 2 to 3 other drivers. And we literally load our vehicles all the way back up to the top and go back out to all the fridges again. So it's a little bit of a crazy day. It doesn't end until around 4 o'clock. It's an all day thing. So, but it's good because the refrigerators get super filled and you can see when you make the second round to the fridges, how fast they get emptied in certain places. So that second trip is really telling like where the need is and how high it is. And, the days that we get like a ton of eggs, I think one week we had a couple hundred eggs, a couple hundred cartons of eggs. It was really fantastic. It was just so great to go fill a refrigerator full of eggs, knowing full well that in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, they would all be gone. But eggs are critical. They're essential. It's such a great, solid, complete meal. So milk, we've been really upping our milk game. So I would like to see more, not milk, more, plant-based milk options as well. And again, when we get something like that, I do tend to send it to the South Side. Knowing that the folks that live on the South Side typically are more intolerant to dairy. So that's where we kind of direct that food. And then, that's basically it. It's a long, arduous, grueling day of dragging boxes around, but it's very fulfilling by the end of it because every fridge has received food at least once, mostly twice. And, I can guarantee by the end of the day that most of that food is gone. And then Thursdays is typically a very light type of distribution. And then Fridays, we have our USDA box distribution where everybody meets at Pilsen Food Pantry and we get 50 USDA boxes to spread out across the city. Every fridge gets them. And then now Saturdays, we meet at the Fields Warehouse, and those guys up there are just doing amazing work of coordinating the distribution. We had that today. So we're getting about 90 boxes, which is incredible. We're stuffing fridges full of food. It is so wonderful. So that's a normal week. The rest of the week, I'm doing a lot of admin and answering emails and answering Slack messages and text messages from other volunteers saying like, I've never done this before, or I'm at this location and the door's not open, and who do I contact? So in between all of this driving, I'm also messaging and responding and trying to be like really present for those people so that they don't leave and never want to do this again. My greatest hope is that all the volunteers that help us enjoy themselves so much that they keep doing it. But yeah, that's a typical week. And then we're working on all weekend, fielding questions and trying to help folks figure out where they fit in and hoping they do.
Thanks, Risa. This is Cosmos again. The interpreters asked us to slow down a bit if we can. And so I will do my best to speak more slowly. So thank you for the reminder. Nora asked us, what does the panel think about reimagining mutual aid? Is it possible in Chicago? What does it look like? And Nora, are you able to speak? Because what do you mean by reimagining mutual aid? Maybe that would help us. See if I can do anything here.
Hey Cosmos, this is Nora. Thanks.
Hey Nora.
Hey. Putting it back on me. I guess I was just thinking of, our theme is reimagination, and mutual aid, as you guys spoke about, has its tie to a very ancient practice that's been around for a long time. So I'm just curious, is there a possibility for reimagining mutual aid, and especially tying it to Chicago?
Thank you for clarifying. Would any of the panelists like to start with an answer? Chef Rush, Taryn, or Risa, do you want to start this question?
I'm happy to jump in really quick. I do have one idea. I think mutual aid as a practice is pretty, it's already pretty perfect. You see a need in your community, you fill the need if you can. If you can't, you find a way to help that person onto the next resource. But for us, what we're doing at Love Fridge, one of the things I would really love to see differently is the way the community interacts with the concept of free food on the street. There's a lot of policing of people at refrigerators, people telling people they can't take this, they're taking too much, and that is because of a scarcity that is manufactured by capitalism. It doesn't actually exist. There's enough for all of us. So I guess if I was hoping to see a reimagination of mutual aid, it would be that evolution of people believing that there's enough for everyone, even if somebody looks like they're taking too much. We never think anyone is taking too much. We think they're taking what they need. So if what they need is for themselves and 5 other people in their household and their neighbors next door, like Taryn was saying, people who are homebound, we don't judge. So I would love to see, as people learn this practice of mutual aid, particularly as it relates to these community fridges, that they also learn that there's enough for all of us, and that, you know, there's not a reason to judge someone for taking something. And when you feel that urge to, you should quietly sit with yourself and work through that. That's a practice. So I'm not expecting everyone to come from that when they're having food trauma and experiencing trauma around not having food sovereignty. But I would like to see that happen.
Yeah, definitely. This is fresh. I think a few things. I feel like, you know, this work that everyone is sharing does feel like a piece of reimagining of mutual aid locally and what these things can look like. And I know that there are so many mutual aid groups throughout the city kind of doing this work in their neighborhoods. One of the things I wanted to share is this was pre-pandemic, and I was talking to a mentor and going through kind of my business plan for Fresher Together. We're currently organized as an LLC, and the components and what my vision was, and it very much is in line with mutual aid, like that community rooted work. And one of the things she said to me was, you know, that's nonprofit work. You don't have to do all of that. That's nonprofit work. And I think I kind of I didn't say anything. I didn't really know what to say about that. Because I think, like, you know, now, of course, mutual aid, I feel like in that term is becoming very trendy. It's very popular. People are kind of in sync with that. And in this work of like everyone's kind of involved in this process, right? Like, you know, businesses, nonprofits, organizations that are, you know, just grassroots groups, community, neighborhood associations, all kinds of things. There's just kind of this thing where everyone is in kind of is together doing this work and connected doing this work. And I think when I think about reimagining systems or thinking about reimagining mutual aid is that piece of businesses kind of have this structure in capitalism around just like it's making money. And, you know, you have some of these B Corps and these special groups that are supposed to have like a social justice mind or lens or social enterprises and that. And in my reimagining, I think about like, what if businesses in general were structured in this format of mutual aid, where both, you know, the needs are met of the business and you're taking care of community and the community that you're in, and what does that look like, right? And so I think those are the things I think about, like this kind of making it a commonplace, right? So that it's making it like businesses contributing back to their community and taking care of people is not deemed as like nonprofit work. That's just a responsible way you operate in the system and the structure that you're in. And that's just how mutual aid works, right? And so I think about those types of pieces and how to incorporate that.
Thank you, Chef Fresh.
Yeah, I'll just add in a couple cents. Like I really, especially because this is food, and we need land. I think that, you know, thinking about, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to say who I was for the interpreters, Taryn here. I think that the relationship that all of the organizations, especially community-based organizations that are doing everything within our power, we are stretching ourselves to the utmost capacity to serve our people. I think that there are larger institutions that have all of the resources very easily available. And the major resource is connection and access to land. I feel that, like, in my reimagining of mutual aid, in particularly in Chicago, is how that land can become more and more available to the people that are on the ground trying to feed our people. I think that that's like that I can't think of any other kind of way to make this work more sustainable than for us to be able to have we don't have that leg up, right? So like we need that to be given. And I feel like that would make a tremendous difference, because then we're able to build our infrastructure for any point in the future for collapse, and our people will be able to take care of themselves and have that as a practice already. That's my 2 cents to what's already been said. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Taryn, and thank you, Chef Rush and Risa, for those thoughts. This is Cosmos again. I think what I'm hearing as well is in a lot of mutual aid practices, there's an emphasis on horizontality. There's an emphasis on autonomy, but then those things can be in tension with the way we've been conditioned. So we're conditioned to bolster hierarchy from the time we enter a family in most scenarios. So our parents teach us that readily. The politicians teach us that readily. Our workplaces teach us that readily. So reimagining how we are all equal, even though that's supposedly what is said in a lot of realms from the government, even though they say all men are equal, which already is problematic. We realize that there isn't equity everywhere, though. So then that's another tension point, because when I look around at the horizontality or the supposed topography of our intersections of class and race and other identities, they're not treated with the same equality. And I think equity is one of the conversations where there's usually a lot of tension points in conversations I have, because people are down to have diversity. People are down to have inclusion. People intellectually think everybody having a voice makes sense. But then when it comes to adjusting and making sure that equity is involved to get people onto the plane of equality, that's where I see a lot of tension points. So I would say that's one thing to reimagine. And I think Chef Fresh was talking about it as well, just really recentering yourself and saying this is a natural way to behave in all realms, and that takes a lot of work, because we're so conditioned to be so individualistic and kind of exoteric thinking of ourselves, our immediate environment, but maybe not the person right next to us. So I think that's part of reimagining that. If I may, to kind of piggyback this question, and then I'll go to your question, Marley. I think Chef Fresh, you were touching on it, but like with this trendy term or this trendy phrase of mutual aid, there's a lot of groups that are also trying to co-opt that word and use it or water it down. These could be nonprofits, these could be politicians. I think a lot of people don't want to make mutual aid political, but I think if you're growing your own food and you're feeding others, it actually becomes a political act because of the neglect in our society. So on that note, Chef Fresh, can you talk about maybe how you feel mutual aid is trying to be co-opted by others, or have you experienced that all in your work? Are you seeing more of a watered down approach from politicians and others that maybe aren't as invested?
Man, I can imagine what it looks like. I think I'm kind of in my zone so much that maybe I'm not privy to it, but I've just seen it happen with so many other terms, and even food justice, and like revolutionary, and like all of these things where I've just seen people co-opt it and use it kind of nonchalantly to push their work and what they're doing when it doesn't fit that lens at all. So I can imagine, and I don't know, like I think I haven't seen those examples yet, and that happening, and maybe I'm out of touch with what's going on in that realm. But I think what that makes me think of is like, while someone mentioned it already, that while mutual aid is trendy now, right, to say that it's not new, and we've been doing this work for so long in this way, especially in Black and Brown communities, especially in just like how we've been existing. and yeah, so I don't know if I'm hoping that with this trend, it inspires people to do work in this way more and more. And that kind of is like some of a snowball effect. And I can just imagine like it's going to be the pathway to funding for, you know, institutions and nonprofits to like use this terminology, whether that is still even really what their work is and what they're doing. And I can imagine that happen, but I don't think I'm knowing of what's going on and what people are doing so far with that. I've just kind of been in this bubble.
Thanks, Fresh. Taryn, would you like to speak to that follow-up question?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of in the same boat as Fresh, where the world is so you know, it's so tight, and my bandwidth is really you know, the work and my personal mental health. So I haven't seen those examples. Yeah, you know, but I can like like Fresh was saying, can imagine how that's it's only gonna continue, and so that makes the grind that we have been having, and I'm assuming like most of the folks that are in on this panel, like we have a greater responsibility to continue doing the work as fully intentional and full of love and care and the nourishment that we know we're putting into it, because it's what we're trying to feed ourselves. Like we have to stay very focused on that part.
Thank you. Risa, would you like to share any thoughts on this?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the Love Fridge has rubbed up against this a few times. As you can imagine, we have a very slick look. We're all volunteers. No one is paid in this group. We're completely mutual aid, but we have professionals who come from backgrounds of marketing and advertising and designers that make us look very, very slick online. And that is very attractive to companies and organizations. So we have to be really intentional when we enter into a partnership with anyone, because we already have 24 refrigerators in 18 neighborhoods with the intention of adding more in places of, you know, great need. We have focus, and we could make a wrong move and make a relationship with somebody short term that would put us at odds with our partners that we already have, all of the people sitting at this table right now and all of the others watching. So we are very protective of our relationships, and we don't have to go bother our hosts with this. We just do it internally. And one of the things that we did, we've come up with, politicians have come to us asking us for, you know, their blessing to have refrigerators. Anyone can have a community refrigerator, by the way. You don't need to be a Love Fridge. If you're really into the idea of feeding people with a refrigerator in your community, get one, start it up. You don't need to be a Love Fridge. So we have a pretty selective process. I won't say selective, but we have a questionnaire that is really clear. And the way people answer that questionnaire lets us know how serious they are, because we tend to look like vendors. And we're not. Everything we get is on donation. All of the stuff that's driven around to all these fridges is on volunteer people power. Not a single person gets paid for anything. So we want to make sure we don't look like an organization of people who is going to keep this refrigerator on the street full all the time, that you would call us and say, my fridge is empty. We need people who are already doing community work. Politicians tend to want to use refrigerators for political gain. You know, it looks good. Now, we love their blessing, but we don't need them to have refrigerators. They can have their own. We created a community agreement that is very long and very thought out, and it was a labor of love. And it specifically says we will not collaborate with politicians. We will not collaborate with the police. We will not collaborate with ICE. No one can use the fridge for their own personal gain. There is no leveraging of the people of these communities and their refrigerators for personal gain. from any of us or from anyone outside. So it's certainly something that has come, and we've had to tell people, no, we will not partner with you. No, we will not collaborate with you. And in saying no, we say why. We're clear about that. You do not meet our needs of alignment based on our community agreement. And we're really glad that we have that community agreement, because we can always lean back on that and say, this is why we don't align. So yeah, it's there, it's out there. The mutual aid as leverage for looking like you're doing something. There's also an app out there that is, calling itself that, but is a nonprofit in disguise. So, hopefully people understand that what mutual aid really is this: people talking to each other for real, face to face or Zoom to Zoom or over the phone, and not like just via technology. We coordinate things with technology, but we don't leave things in that realm. And so you can kind of tell how serious people are when they, when they kind of only want to stay in that realm of technology, and they don't want to actually get to know you, and they don't want to have some of the difficult conversations where you're working through some of these issues. So yeah, we've definitely turned people down.
Thank you very much, Risa. Oh, go ahead, Chef.
Can I say something real quick? This is fresh. One of the things I wanted to say, and I really love, I have a Love Fridge. I really love what Love Fridge is doing, is I just want to be clear around in this definition or in this thinking about what mutual aid is. And I've become victim to this a lot in the past, is that I don't want it to be like you just have to do this work on volunteer power, on a volunteer fumes and energy, and that folks in your systems can't be getting paid. I think that is there's a piece there that helps with its sustainability and its lasting power, right? Like we have with Farm Food Familias in this work, we both have folks who are volunteering, and we have drivers who are getting stipends and getting paid to help do these deliveries. And those are folks from the neighborhood, right, that are able to come and do this work, right? And so, and when chefs, like, for me, during the pandemic, everything that I normally do started getting canceled, right at the beginning of the pandemic, when like all the catering gigs that I was normally doing, all the graduation events, all the everything, right? And so when Farm Food Familias came in and they had a little bit of funding, and they were like, look, we can get we can pay to help support the chefs doing these meals, right? And so I think about that as like these systems approach, where you're using both volunteer and paid labor, and still letting folks be clear that is still a mutual aid model, right? Like when you have all of these pieces and you're doing this work a certain way, that you can have folks in community who are going to be able to do the work for their community and be able to pay their bills because they're getting a stipend.
Thank you, Chef Rush. This is Cosmos again. We have about 7 minutes before we pass this back over to the SIFPAC crew. But yeah, I think you're touching on an important point, Chef Rush. I've been in conversation with some comrades throughout the city at different mutual aid groups. I mean, one of the principles that I try to adhere to is diversity of tactics. And it also plays with the principle of autonomy, that people can do what they feel is best to practice mutual aid, and that could have different types of tactics that maybe our group doesn't practice. But in these conversations I've had recently, thinking about ways, especially around food sovereignty and infrastructure, if we're to get more food rescue hubs and maybe shared vehicles, can we in some way subsidize neighbors who want to volunteer to maybe get them some income that they don't currently have now, or maybe offset certain things? I know in Belmont Craig, and I've heard stories of neighbors saying, well, I can drive for you, but I don't have any gas. And so subsidizing things that way. Our group personally does a lot of direct aid. Right now, we've been doing a lot of rental assistance, as well as utility bills. And we had a recent neighbor have a newborn, so we had to buy them a bunch of furniture for the new baby. So I think there's a lot of ways as we kind of try to find our buoyancy and tip the scales on this capitalist system that we do have to navigate with capital. So I think Chef Fresh, you're getting into something that there's a lot of complicated discussions around. So I appreciate you bringing that up. We have about 6 minutes. Marley Wilson, you asked, what do your orgs need most right now? And how can volunteers best support you in that work? And I'll leave it to the three panelists how you want to start.
I can start. This is Taryn. So Farm Food Familias is trying to continue through the end of the year. So here, I'll put it in the chat for everybody. We have an active GoFundMe that's specifically for the program to run July through December. And just to kind of come back to what was just being talked about paying people, particularly people in these communities that are providing aid and care to their community. Farm Food Familias, we started off with a tremendous amount of volunteer support, which was how the program was able to build a base. But we've since then transitioned into having almost most of the majority of the folks that are driving for us are people that are either from Little Village or from Inglewood, from the South Side, that receive a stipend to deliver. So that cost of the program is paid for sure because of that fact. But yeah, that's like the most need that we have right now. And we're also really trying to incorporate medicinal herbs with our meal deliveries. We got a lot of feedback from the people. We got some donations last year that had, the herbs, what they were good for, how to use them. Is there a way to set up recurring donations? Yes, I will put the PayPal link in after I'm done talking. That's a way to provide recurring donations, which would be helpful as well. But yeah, if anybody has a plug on bulk herbs, and also like the packaging for that would be great. It's not only like necessary, but for real, the people are really into it, and I think that's a beautiful thing for us to tap into. People being interested in alternative ways of healing themselves. And like that's like our biggest need. Fresh, I'm not missing. Like that's all we need, right? It's just so that circulate that link, get people to know for us. That'd be great. Thank you. And yeah, and just keep sending love too. Keep sending love and support. And we send it back to you. Thanks.
Yeah, this is Fresh. Yeah, I ditto that, in this system, we do need financial capital. So donations, and that's true for me for across all of the different work that I do with Fresh Together and Chicago Bread Club is that financial piece and that money. But then also definitely volunteer power. So even on Wednesdays for Farm Food Familia, we're in a community kitchen in Inglewood. There is plenty of space to social distance. We spread the tables apart, each table 6 feet, and then we give those tables spaces so you can work kind of in your own little space. But having that volunteer power, because it's great that we get so much access to fresh produce. And it's a lot of work to prep that and turn that into 100 meals in like a short time frame. So we're doing a lot of chopping and gleaning and washing and prepping and stuff of big amounts of produce donations to be able to turn them into like all of these delicious meals. So that kind of volunteer power. And then I often am looking for also volunteer power for sorting beans. If you want a very meditative action of picking through beans from local farmers. Sometimes there'll be like a corn seed or a rock, and we do a lot of sorting of beans before we pack them to get them out into community. It takes a long time and uses a lot of people power, but it's a very chill task. You can put on a podcast or a book and sort through beans with us. And we do that in South Shore. And then, I'm always looking for other skilled volunteers and volunteers on the farm, skilled volunteers in different areas around marketing or social media or website or any type of skilled volunteer. There's probably a need. And then folks who want to kind of volunteer in other ways. So those are some of mine. And also land, I would say. I am a farmer and a chef, and I do a lot of growing, a lot of different work, and we really need access to larger amounts of land, preferably outside of the city. But if there's access to lands, that is a thing too.
Thanks. Risa, did you want to respond quickly? I know we're just about out of time.
Yeah, I'll be really brief. We need people power, volunteers. We need you to go to the refrigerators and wipe them down, throw away the old food, be really thorough, treat it like it's your fridge at home, treat it like you wouldn't want to eat food out of this fridge unless it was this clean. Throw away expired things, just really take care of it, adopt it, love it, be a fridge manager. That's what it's called. It's on our website. And the other thing is volunteers that are drivers, people that have cars to meet up with us in the many ways on Wednesdays, on Fridays, on Saturdays to drive all this food all around the city. So yeah, it's at thelovefridge.com. And it's they're under reoccurring donations. You can send us an email at thelovefridgechicago@gmail.com, and we will happily absorb you into our people power network.
Thank you, Risa. And I'll make a quick plug for Brownsville-Kenwood Mutual Aid. You definitely need drivers. We also need ideas. We're trying to meet with our community members more often and allow them to steward and take ownership of initiatives. I think food is a great rallying point. So a lot of our work is spawned from the engagement we have at pop-ups and distribution points. But there's a lot of other things that come out of that through those engagements, and trying to listen more to our community members. And then if they have an idea saying, hey, how can we support you to get that going? Doesn't have to be exactly through BKMA. Maybe we can pay for it. Maybe we can help with volunteers, but really try to get out of us being the gatekeeper. So if you want to give us dough, if you want to give us volunteers, or if you have ideas, please reach out. And with that, I'll pass it back to Steph, I believe, or I don't know if Roger's taking over.
Great. Thank you guys so much. We're so appreciative of all your time, taking it out of on a Saturday, with all the extra work you guys have been doing. They're inspiring stories, and we're so thankful for all that you guys have been able to do. And at a minimum, sharing peace and love with you all, but hopefully some other resources and partnerships ongoing. So thank you all so much for coming today. Also, you can see in the chat, there's some links to the emails for folks and the GoFundMes and partnerships, ways to volunteer. So please follow those links. We'll make sure those are posted in the Whova for the website for this session, so people can reference them later. Also wanting to say that all the sessions have been recorded, and then are going to be put on and have been put straight to YouTube. So all of the sessions from the whole summit are available on YouTube now in the CIFPAC channel. And that was posted in the chat as well. So all of this content will be there for as long as YouTube is there. So again, thank you all, and have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. I am going to hand it off to Asia on the CIFPAC team as well. She has a final greeting and a final notice, but I wanted to say goodbye and thank you to the panelists.
Hey everyone, happy Saturday. Just want to give a lot of gratitude for folks, for everyone, for the work that they do. And as we close out this summit, and our theme for these last 2 days was rest and renewal, we just want to give a special acknowledgement to someone in our community. and honor them in the best way that we can right now. So I'm gonna read a poem that I know they would very much appreciate it, and often they would reference this poem. And this is a poem. It's called In Lakesh, and it was written by Luis Valdez and Domingo Martinez Paredes. Luis Valdez incorporated this poem, part of a larger poem called Pensamiento Sepertino in 1971, and it's one of the godfathers of Chicano theater back in the day. So just read it. So, you are my other me. Tú eres mi otro yo. If I do harm to you, si te hago daño a ti, I do harm to myself. Me hago daño a mí mismo. If I love and respect you, si te amo y respeto, I love and respect myself. Me amo y respeto yo. So one of the reasons why we wanted to share this poem is that our sweet, sweet sister, Jacqueline Abina Smith, would always talk about this poem. Jackie was one of the leaders in the Leaders Council for the Urban Stewards Action Network, and wanted to just honor her spirit, her kindness, her empathy. She practiced gratitude, felt like every minute of every meeting that we had together, and just want to take a moment to acknowledge her. And I know that there are other USAN leaders on the panelist side that I want to give space if and invite you all if you guys want to share as well. Thank you.
I'll share something really briefly. This is fresh. That I really always admired Jackie and her ability to utilize this. She was a homesteader on the south side of Chicago, and grew amazing, beautiful stuff, as well as like could crochet and can. I still have canned things on my shelf from her. Also a great cook. And I, as a chef, someone who cooks for you is like near and dear to my heart. But would grow the most amazing things and cared for chickens in a very tiny backyard, and would just utilize space beautifully, vertical space, using old milk jugs, any device, things didn't go to waste, and would hang them. And whenever, you know, I have someone now who was talking about utilizing space and was able to share with them Jackie's info, and Jackie was able to take them on a tour of her backyard, and just beautiful use of space and without waste, and just things connected, and practicing skills of kind of like Afro-Indigenous farming and growing, and what people sometimes refer to as permaculture, like with ease, and that respect for the land and community, and that joy that I felt like she brought to every meeting and every space was amazing. And, you know, I am going to miss her a lot. And I thank y'all for making the space to honor her.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you all. We also got to do a podcast with her recently, in fact. So we'd be happy to share that with anybody that's interested in hearing it. So thank you all so much.
I would just like to share a quick this beautiful fact about Jackie in relation to Farm Food Familias. The first, so that project came after a week. We spoke about it, and a week later, it was happening. And in between that time, we hopped on Busan call and shared the idea, and Jackie instantly was like, "Yo, I'm making jollof rice. I'm making jollof rice. Add that to the menu." And I just really wanted to share like that action, that immediate like, "Yo, here it is." Like it was so beautifully affirming, and I just wanted to share that with you all.
Hi, everyone. This is Bueza, and I just wanted to echo what was said already, but I really admired the way that Jackie was so wholehearted in her commitment to caring for the earth. And she saw that as a true honor and responsibility and really did embody everything that it means to be a land steward. And I'm just so touched to know that even when she was hurting so deeply and in every part of her body, she would still show up to our Usan calls and just spread joy and share so much love to each and every individual on the call. And that's just a testament to the amount of love that she had, that even when her body was putting her through so much pain, she still just wanted to spread love to everyone. So I know that everything that we all do in this space will continue her legacy and will continue to build on the work that she set forward. So thank you, Jackie.
Hi, everyone. This is Nick, and I want to echo everything that everyone said before me as well. Jackie brought so much to the Usan family, was such a light, but was also the first person to keep reminding us to stay in touch, stay tapped in, and speaking with our ancestors. And I feel like, knowing that she's an ancestor now, it makes it a little bit, oh God, it makes it easier for me to feel like I can, access our ancestors, and knowing that she's still in our corner. I remember when I had to go to DC for a medical procedure for my partner, and I needed some emergency holiday gifts for her family. Jackie knitted 5 different garments to give as gifts to everyone in my partner's family. Um, and when I went to go pick them up, I'd only known Jackie for about a month or two at this point, and she um, sat there and prayed for me and wouldn't let me leave her house until she promised that I would text her every time that we stopped the car, just to make sure that I was safe on the way there and back. And our relationship kind of followed that pattern. She was such a caring and gracious and sweet person. And even this graphic that we're looking at right now, she called me at like 9 at night after I posted this, just thanking me, saying that she just thought the colors complemented her well, and she liked the way that she looked, and she was just the type of person to let you know immediately if you made her feel some type of way, that she was going to let you know. how much she appreciated it. And so, yeah, thank you, Jackie, for everything you brought to the space.
I hope everyone takes care of themselves and you know, find some time to ground yourself in self-care and rest and renewal and take care of each other and keep doing the amazing work that you all are doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Asia, and everyone for sharing about Jackie and her legacy. Wanted to also thank our interpreters today, the presenters, again, all the volunteers and supporters for all of this work. Yes, please do enjoy the coming spring and the sunshine we have today. And as we move into continuing the work that everyone is doing and the visions that we're moving towards. Thank you for coming today and participation in the summit. And again, look forward to connecting soon. So thank you all. Mm-hmm.